Okay, it's four more cards. Yay. Um, at a teen retreat, we asked them to write out questions. These are magnificent questions, and maybe you've heard the other videos about these. And really, it's great for adults and children. It's if you haven't heard, this is questions that's submitted by teens at a teen impact. It's called Impact, and it's a retreat that's put on by City Gospel Mission. And there's four more cards, so let me just turn to one and open it. Boom. All right, I love this one. It says, "How do you know God is real?" So now I like the word "know." In my first, let me tell you my story real quick. And usually you can tell precepts or the ideas and then tell the story. I'm going to illustrate my life and then tell some reasons why I believe that really God is real. But I like the word "know." In the beginning, it was faith, and then I know in whom I have believed now. That's what Paul said, and I've experienced the same thing. I've been walking with him for 42 years. So it isn't just some faith out there. Sure, in its real sense, it's always by faith. We walk by faith and not by sight, 2 Corinthians chapter 5. So it's true that it's faith. We don't have the tangible sense realm where we can, prove God by a test tube to atheists or something. Sorry, I said that with an attitude. Sorry. But so the fact is, though, we can really know him, and I know him now. I know God is real. So I'm glad the writer of this question said, "Do you know? How do you know God is real?" Instead, she or he could have said, "How do you? What do you base your belief on that God is real?" Let me tell you my story real quick. I lived for 17 years of my life, and I thought there was a God or whatever. Nothing intimate. I was in darkness. I didn't know God at all. Near the end of the 17th year, I don't know exactly when, but uh, near the eighth, my birthday's in July. In October of my 18th birthday, I had my birthday. I was 18. Um, Suddenly, and I didn't know him at the time. The Spirit of God started dealing with me, and you could call it with the religious terms awakening. And that's what happened. I was just living life, just going on, but my spirit was dead spiritually. And so I had an awakening of, wait a minute, is there, like, I'm not a Christian. I thought I was a Christian. I went to another church for a year, years, and I went to this other church, introduced by my brother, by the way, one of my brothers. And that church was great. And it was teaching really the doctrine, preaching, and the Spirit of God started coming in on my life. And so my crisis, this is what I want to emphasize here. I had a crisis on the inside. Now, a lot of people get saved because of crises. They have big trouble. I'm in trouble. And they start praying to God, God, help me. I'm so sorry. And they make promises. I'll serve you if you do this. And most of the time, God just does it. Maybe all the time. I don't know. So, very cool. Well, me, I just had this huge inside, like, is there a God? So I started crying out to him. October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and then 5th, I received Christ on a Wednesday night about 8:30. I had faith. He just kind of put it in me. I can't explain it. It was just not. It wasn't me, but I was seeking him in earnest. Whew, I really was. I was already wanting to surrender my life completely. Oh my goodness, my big problem was belief. And I remember sitting back. For whatever reason, I said, "I believe." Like that was. I remember that specifically. And then later, I saw in the scriptures. By the way, Paul quoted this. He said, as it is written, he's quoting, oh my, is it the Psalms or something probably? He was quoting and I believe, therefore have I spoken. In 2 Corinthians 4, let me get that real quick and read it. 2 Corinthians 4, I remember it says, ooh, I hope I'm right on that. 2 Corinthians 4. Or maybe it isn't second. Yeah, here it is. 2 Corinthians 4:13. It says, we having the same spirit of faith, according as it is written, I believe and therefore have I spoken. I love that. And that's what happened with me. I just believed and therefore I spoke. And I actually said I believe. But anyway, now, how do I know that God exists? Because, maybe I just went through this some spiritual imagination type thing. It really didn't happen. I'm spiritual, but there's no real entity, real being outside of me. And I just went through this, change or something that happened. Mm-mm. No, it's way too much evidence in my life personally. And there's also too much evidence in every way that you could think of. evidence that the Bible's true. And if you have questions about the evidence that the Bible's true, write that in your comments as a question. Evidence of the resurrection of Jesus. There's just too many. Uh, to the disciples, it was called in Acts chapter 1, I think it's verse 3 or something, immutable proofs, unmistakable, etc. But to keep this short, I'm talking a lot. How do we know God's real? By the way, I like to do a teaching sometime. I actually collected on my own, uh, not like, oh, look at me, but I collected all sorts of other things and, from other people and from real scholars in this field and all, 20 different reasons. And I have them listed out. By the way, I saw a book one time that was called 20 Compelling Evidences There's a God. I thought, what? And I looked at them, and some of them were mine, but some were new ones. So there's way more evidences. If you want to know whether God is real, by the way, seek him. God said in Jeremiah 29, about verse 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there, it said, seek me and you shall find me when you search for me with all of your heart. Scripture says, but without faith it's impossible to please him. For whoever comes to him must believe that he exists, he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Scripture says, seek and you shall find. So if you want to know God is real, go seeking after him. And so there are the 20 evidences I say. I can't remember them all, but I do remember some major ones. And these are classic evidences that God's real. Okay, so I hope you can see this. So I'm not going to put in particular order. Let's just put bullets then. Okay, one is, we'll say creation, okay, or cosmological argument, basically like cause and effect. How did all this happen? And science has basically proven in the last decades, because of the idea of expansion in the universe and things like that, that this universe wasn't there forever. That used to be thought like it's an eternal universe. Now it's been basically proven that there was nothingness. So how did something come out of nothing? They're trying to prove that, by the way. Scientists are trying to prove that. Really intelligent, brilliant guys that are trying to prove that something came out of nothing. I think you're not going to find any proof there. And then how did mind, thinking, and souls and all come out of matter? How can something come out of this, an inanimate object or something else, or some energy that produces what we have? So creation would be one. You can't have a watch without a watchmaker, as a classic thing. You can't have a building without a builder. You can't have a painting without an artist, a painter. You can't have a book without an author. You can't have a design without a designer. I mean, this is just pretty logical to me. It's reasonable. It's rational. You can't have a creation without a creator. So another good reason, this is huge to me. I could have put this in the opposite order. Design. Oh my goodness. The design is ridiculous, especially with the science that we have now. When they found DNA, and they keep going deeper and deeper, and they, huge amounts of information in one little cell, like libraries in one cell. And how did all that happen to perfectly fit? It's called the fine tuning of the universe. Our universe is perfectly developed for us in the galaxy that we live in, and the um, place that we live. How, with the right oxygen, we're not too close to the sun to burn, we're not too far away, various things like that. So design, even the design of my body, how did that just happen to be there with my 5 fingers, and then the way I have a nose that smells, and all that. Like my eyeball is ridiculous, the complexities of the eyeball, the complexities of the anatomy is just absurd. Why do I happen to have bones that holds the frame of up, or muscles, or the reproductive system, beautiful system that produce babies, ongoing life systems that we have, etc. Design is just crazy. Another one, it's a big argument, is moral argument, and this is kind of difficult with some of the younger people might listen to this, but right from wrong. How do we know right from wrong? Everybody has an innate conscience inside that said, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. It's either, the Bible calls in Romans 2, excusing or accusing. It kind of smites, hits you like, I shouldn't be doing this and all. And there's a belief that environment taught all that, but there's too much evidence opposite of that. Now, it's true, we are brought up in different cultures and different environments, and there are some different morals and different standards, but there are certain absolute things that everybody knows just innately. There's an absolute law and rules outside of ourselves that tells us it's wrong to do this. It's wrong for somebody to go up to a child and kill him for no reason. I mean, it's wrong any reason, but everybody knows it's wrong. Well, how do they know that? There's something inside, which really points to the fact is there must be a law and rules, absolutes and all, that there must be a lawgiver to be able to have that law, those laws out there outside of ourselves. So yet we feel it on the inside. So there's moral. And then another one, I'll give one more experiences. And this could be in some people's minds very subjective. Yeah, that's true. Some of it is suggestive, but in my own life, nobody can tell me there's no God because I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of literal experiences. Not only things of him talking to me and guiding me and doing what I call holy coincidences. If I would have journaled them, I would have had a book full of chapters of how God worked that out and shared this person with me, and this happened. I happened to see this person this time, and blah blah blah. It's just fantastic, and that's over and over. He's just behind the scenes all the time. We're not making this up. But I've also had physical healings, literal experiences of miracles happen where I prayed and instantly all the pain was gone. That's when I was a new Christian. That wasn't the power of the mind that did that. I just prayed to God. I even said, if it's your will you heal me? And I started moving again, all my soreness. My whole body was racked with pain. It instantly went. And that's my biggest dynamic of that. But I've had over and over healings of sicknesses that instantly happen. So anyway, there's some of the reasons why we can know that there's a God. But I would encourage you to seek this maker so that he can reveal himself to you personally, and then you'll have no doubt. And then you can know him and not just believe. All right.